We are back in Portland after what was an awesome weekend in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C.
Indeed.
We went to the Army-Navy presented by USAA. Awesome event. Like, there's rarely do you have, like, the bucket list event that lives up to every single expectation. Army-Navy does, man. And it was special. It was different. It was really cool, man. There's the beginning of the game, and everybody talks about, hey, the pageantry of the game is what makes it special. Whether we got to the stadium at like 9:30 in the morning, and there was something,
like
there is something all day long from like 9:30 a.m. all the way through till like 7 p.m. when we left. And there is an event going on, whether it is outside of the stadium where they have like all of the military interactive installations that they have going on there, to just seeing the tailgating in the parking lot like a normal college football game, except for, you see a lot of these people, I don't know, have served our country, and it's not like college kids tailgating. Didn't see really any college kids tailgating at all because they can't.
No. For those that aren't aware of the cadets and midshipmen, this is like their getaway.
Yeah,
getting out there like this, you don't get to go do stuff.
Is this drier than like a BYU game?
No.
No, God,
okay.
no.
Oh, but it is not. No, nobody said anything about it being dry.
Well, okay.
No.
Oh, okay.
It's just those college kids
can't.
are not.
Yeah.
The actual students are not.
No.
Other than that, very similar to any college game everywhere.
and alumni.
Yeah. So
anyway, so glad you guys had a great time this weekend.
Yeah. The cadets, though, like at West Point, they drive in like the day of. So last year was in Foxborough, Massachusetts, is in Boston, and they said that they brought in the midshipmen from Annapolis, and they had to bus them in, and they slept on cots at the stadium.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like they're going and getting hotel rooms. So that's the reason why this whole thing is on the East Coast. So I was talking to, actually on our flight home, there was a woman sitting in front of me, and she was like, this is the 5th game I've gone to, first time I've rooted for Navy or Army, because my son just graduated from the Naval Academy last year. So the previous 4 years, we were all pulling for Navy. And I was like, well, why did you switch? She's like, oh, my other son, he goes to the West Point now. I was like, oh, okay. Super smart kids then. But she was saying that for the cadets at West Point, they had to be at 12:30 a.m. They had to be dressed and in formation to get on the buses to drive from West Point down to D.C. 12:30 a.m. And then they go through, and we did what's called the March On. I have photos and videos up of the March On. One of the coolest experiences, where basically in formation, every battalion from West Point, and then they come and they march in formation. They do a chant, and then they all march right on out. It takes about 45 minutes for each school to get all of their cadets. I mean, it's goal line to goal line, all the way down, and they're just standing at attention the entire time. Then Naval Academy comes in. They do it. I will say this. Everybody from the Naval Academy is like, yeah, we get owned in the March On.
Look, Navy, it's not a precision march with them.
You hear a lot of, it's really hard to march when you're on a ship and it's moving. Yeah. It's like, okay, kind of get that.
Not a lot of focus put on that.
West Point, boy, they took their time.
Precision.
It was precision. Naval Academy, they were like, hey, we're going to hurry this thing up. We're going to move the drill. Mm-hmm. They go a little bit faster throughout the whole thing. But that was the first part where it was just like, whoa, the kind of the gravity of this game, the magnitude of it, what it means to the students of the game. The game itself
was okay.
I mean, yeah, it was okay.
Okay.
Very kind of sloppy football. It's a lot slower speed than like if you're watching Big Ten or SEC football.
The media room where we were at, we're directly behind the cadets.
Yeah,
and
that was badass.
That was awesome, man, because like they were, look, until even in losing, they were still having a blast. Because again, this is, I want to highlight this. Like, they don't get to do this stuff.
No.
Like this is
Let
their
loose.
this is their reprieve. This is where they get to go have their fun. And so the energy is on 11 the entire time.
Yeah. Dude.
Just
yes.
they are on tilt the entire. Look, I took a picture of it. They somehow managed to sneak in a blow-up doll that they put a donkey head on.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't know, the mascot for the Army is a donkey, and it was a terrifying looking thing. Like it was all taped together.
Yeah,
and they don't have like bags that they bring in.
Mm-mm. He had to hide that underneath his whatever shawl is.
I would imagine that there was multiple parts that were like somebody brought a roll of tape, somebody brought the donkey head, somebody brought the blow-up doll. Like it was a process of making this all come together, and that's like half the fun of like the very stupid things that you do.
Yeah.
In these moments,
Blake Horvath was really damn good in that game.
My goodness, was he good?
He was an animal. But then after the game, it was one of the like you don't get the magnitude of it. You don't get how much it means in the stadium because you can feel it in the stadium. You know, they always say winner sings second, right? And right when the game gets done, there was even like a shoving match, like right at the end of the game. And then clock hit 0, and Army goes straight over to the cadets in front of them. They sing first, and the amount of respect that is shown as those teams, like shoving match ends, boom, it is right over to the end of the stadium. Every single player for Navy, they take their helmets off. They take, if you're wearing like a bandana or, a rag, you take that off.
Covers are off.
They are standing at attention. Nobody is talking. Nobody is hooping and hollering. They are just standing at attention, respecting West Point singing, the cadets and the team singing their fight song. The moment that song gets over, there is an eruption. And it was the wildest thing because I was looking around and you see like from standing at attention, laser focus, that song got over and Navy, it was time for their time to sing. There were coaches, administrators, players, tears just streaming down their face. And
Army had won the last two, so you want to make sure if you're a senior, this is your chance, man.
The importance of that game, just they go dead sprint over to the opposite corner where the midshipmen were, and you have players jumping into the stands. You had. I mean, it was just like this massive humanity. It takes about 15 seconds. Boom. They're into their fight song. And all of Army's team, they come over. They're standing at attention. They are composed. That song ends. Then you start seeing the gravity of we lost this game for Army. You see grown men, coaches, administrators. It meant a whole hell of a lot to lose that game. And then once that gets over, the celebration was so much mutual respect. Like Navy's players went nuts.
Yep.
They went nuts. But they waited for it until after Army's players, the ones that just got off the field, they got off the field, and then it was just mayhem.
Even then, they went nuts immediately to go sing their alma mater.
Yeah.
And no punches were thrown. Ohio State.
Right.
Grow up. Children. Honestly, I said it on Twitter. I it was one of those things where, for the memes, I wanted to see Navy plant an American flag at midfield. What do you say to that?
America.
Yeah, but singing second is a big deal.
Yeah.
Winners sing second.
It was really cool.
That's what it comes with that.
It is a bucket list. I think everybody should go to that game. If you're a sports fan, it's worth it. It is so worth that trip because when you're there and you get to see, the heckling going back and forth between, veterans that are in the stands, but the amount of mutual respect that there is too, the chants that go back and forth between the cadets and the midshipmen, like there is so much more that you don't see on TV that goes into that game that was so awesome. It was really damn cool. It was a 10 out of 10 for the bucket list, and I hope everybody enjoyed the show on Friday as much as we did because those guests were impressive in their own right. Like I still can't get over when we talked to General Gillen, who's the superintendent, basically president of West Point, and we talked to 2 cadets. You just sit there and you're like, God, how do you have it together this well? They're really overachievers. They are really just overachievers.
Just tremendous humans on every single level, and you find out where they come from, what they're doing, what they're like. We had a couple of cadets on Media Row, and they were literally the number 1 and number 2 in command.
Yeah.
You have a command structure within the academies. You have your actual commanders, the superintendent, Lieutenant General Gilland, who's a 3-star general, and then they have the other officers that kind of fall in line after that actually run the academy, the instructors and things of that nature. But within the actual cadet structure, there is rank, and those you select your career path based on rank. And that's based on tests, both physical and mental. So you have your actual education tests and you have your PT tests. And you are slotted and ranked. And that's how you get to pick your career going forward.
Dang.
And so when you're one of the top in your class, you are quite literally the top of your class, and you get to select. You have two choices. You get to one of your top 2 if you're at the top. And those are the same people that go on and they end up becoming, Fortune 500 CEOs and senators and congressmen, and like you see these they're kids.
Yep.
That have their stuff so far together.
That's wild.
And every time you worry about, where the world is, you go, they'll be all right.
Yeah, the kids are all right. Takeaways. Rufio chiming in on the Vancouver Ford text line. So, Danny, how'd that Air Force side of the Commander-in-Chief trophy look? Boy, that was one of my highlights, is that they had the Commander-in-Chief's trophy, which has 3 sides. If you followed along with our best trophies bracket that we did, you have an Army, Navy, Air Force side of it. Danny is going to get a picture of the Air Force side, which is on the back side of this trophy
it's the
up
Army,
against
Navy
the wall.
Game.
And somebody goes, yeah, not a lot of plaques back there, are there?
To which I replied,
because there's a plaque for every year you win it.
To which I replied,
was he trying to get a picture of my backside as well?
Look, we've only been around since 1947.
Yeah.
So National Security Act 1947 is what created the Air Force out of the Army Air Corps.
Well, what? That's a year older than Israel, right?
Which is why I was representing Army.
Yes.
Because the Army is like our uncle.
Yeah. Yes.
It's like our uncle.
It was.
It's our crazy uncle.
It was an awesome weekend. DC, it was my first trip to DC. Lot of traffic, a lot of horns. Everybody uses their horn. Big horn use. And
get the crap scared out of you by a cop.
If you have epilepsy, that's not the place, because there's police lights just on every block. They're just on all the just police lights all the time. Like the strobe, it's got to be hell for folks with epilepsy.
Incredibly clean city.
Very clean. Yep.
For a major city, very clean.
Yeah, got a big budget.
Yeah.
Got a big budget on that.
Yeah.
White House was cool. It is very white, in fact. Very white.
Can't get really that close to it, that's for sure, between the barrier they put up after the guy tried to drive through the fence and then the construction for inauguration. You can't really get that close right now.
Yeah, National Mall was really cool.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Lincoln Memorial was insane.
Yeah, it is.
I hadn't been in there before, and that was nuts. Boy, do we know how to do monuments right.
Yeah, we do them pretty well.
We haven't done them in a long time, but boy, do we know how to do them well.
Yeah.
It's a pretty cool experience.
I mean, as long as they're on the right side of the Civil War.
Well, yeah.
We still
statues. We're talking big old monuments. Yeah, those were impressive. The World War II memorial. Danny and I got strong armed by a man for peace. Guy just comes up and he hands us these bracelets. He's like, for peace. And we're like, okay. And then he hands us this book. He's like, sign the book for peace. And I was like, what? No. And then he's like, he had all of these prices of what people donated for peace. And so I gave him $2 and he's like, $40. I was like, no, what? What kind of peaceful act is this?
Yeah, no, it was a hustle.
That guy was hustling, but then he would just basically write down whatever, and then he'd write $40 to try and get people to donate to him $40 for peace. it was an incredible hustle that man had.
Yeah, this sounds like a lot like George Costanza's Human Fund.
I think it was. I don't know how many of those $40 donations that he actually had in hand, but he wrote down a lot of them for peace. For peace. It was all for peace.
Yeah, it was all for peace.
At least he wrote them down.
It was all for peace. No. All of this is for peace.
I gave him $5 because I respected the hustle.
Yeah. We went to, so we get into town on Thursday night, and we're just like, all right, let's find somewhere. We'll go and get dinner really quick. There was an Irish bar that had really high reviews in Chinatown.
Right around the corner from where we were staying.
Yeah. Turns out, we walk in, it's the only Oregon bar
It's literally a duck bar. I point up, I go, Dusty, look at this. There's a duck flag hanging in the ceiling.
Yeah, like, and our waitress is like, I love the ducks. And then she's like, she starts singing the fight song. I'm like, what is happening here? Where are we? Irish bar in Chinatown.
That's what I was going to say. Irish bar in Chinatown.
And it's a duck and apparently a pit panther bar. So I don't know, but it was one of those things that I have no idea how or why we ended up there, but Google took us there. It was a great bar, though. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. All right. Man, it was a fun time, though. Great time. Very important people walking around that city. And they like to feel important there.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
I will say, it's a good-looking people city.
Yeah, everybody's put together.
A lot of really good-looking people. A lot of accents.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of hoodies around there.
No.
You don't
a
see
lot of peacoats.
Yeah,
A lot of peacoats. Big scarf city.
Big scarf city. You got a scarf.
I did. I got a scarf.
You fell into the scarf trap.
I did fall into the scarf trap, and it was very important that I fell into the scarf trap.
Army Navy was great, though. It was great. It was awesome. Big shout outs USAA for inviting us out there and hooking up Media Row and doing Radio Row with us. It was unbelievable weekend all the way around. Army Navy, 10 out of 10. Highly recommend.